While the host of Sisters in Arms have taken every precaution to ensure that the content of this program is both current and accurate, errors can occur. The hosts assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omission in the content of this program.
The information contained in this program is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantee of completeness or accuracy. The opinions of the guests are not necessarily the same as the hosts.
Welcome to Sisters in Arms. I'm Kerrie Ann Auclair.
And I'm Renee Gagne. Together we serve as a Second Amendment resource for our communities.
And in today's episode, we're going to speak with Sam Wells from New Mexico. We're going to be talking about gunsmithing. So here you go. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. This is really exciting because I've never actually met a female gunsmith. So this is kind of cool. Like, I don't even,
we're a little rare.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm wondering if in Massachusetts, if there is one. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I would hope so.
Me too. You know, the funny thing is, Facebook is how I found this whole story, which I love Facebook for that reason. Your mom and I worked together in the operating room, and she posted something on Facebook one day congratulating you and how proud she is of you that you took this gunsmith program and that you're doing fantastic. And it just made me think, oh, she needs to come on the show and tell us her story.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what brought you here to this journey?
Okay, my name is Sam Wells. What brought me here? Truthfully and honestly, it's my husband. He and I own a business together. We have our FFL, and we are both gunsmiths, and so we do gunsmithing and laser engraving. And really, I just realized I kind of like taking guns apart and putting them back together, figuring out where they go wrong and how to fix them. It's pretty cool to be able to fix something and make it work again. So.
And do you get the opportunity to make your own firearm? Because we've had this conversation before where a lot of women like to make their own firearms because it fits their little hands. So a lot of the guns that they could buy, something might not fit just right for them.
We have the FFL to be able to make our own firearms, but we haven't actually ventured there yet. We customize them. We can modify them to fit our needs, but I have big hands, so I haven't had a problem finding ones that fit well.
So what was your program like? Can you take us through that?
Sure. So my program was completely online. I had about 2,000 pages to read. And then I was sent 7 projects of which I had to complete and send in to be graded.
Now you're in New Mexico, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned that. So, you know, a lot of people may think, well, it was an online program. It might not be as, good as someone who's sitting in class, but really it's the contrary because you had projects that you had to do at home and pass in. And if you didn't pass them, you had to redo them, right?
Correct. I think I could have gotten more out of a class that, had more regular tests and kind of kept me on track. For me, that self-paced learning wasn't as beneficial as I had hoped it would be. I did learn a lot. I just think you have to be ready to do all the work, watch videos, do the reading to really learn what you need to learn because they don't provide examples in this particular course.
And that was what?
So there's a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, a 2-year course, did you say? Is that how long it took?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I had 2 years to do it.
I think people might not know what this is either. So can you explain what gunsmithing is?
Yeah, sure. Gunsmithing is anywhere from taking a gun and cleaning it to taking it apart, figuring out what parts aren't working properly. We've had people bring guns that they fire, but they don't actually fire. And so then we have to figure out what's going on with the gun and fix it so these people can actually utilize their guns again. A lot of times it is the gun is not properly cleaned and we just have to take it all the way down, clean it really well, put it back together, oil it, and now it's working again.
That's crazy, because I don't think a lot of people realize when they buy a firearm, what they have to do to maintain it. It's like a
Right.
car, right?
Even though there's a manual that comes with every single gun you buy.
Yeah, I don't think I've really read the manuals
Right.
though. I mean, who really does?
Right. It does. It's like when you buy a car, you know, the manual's this thick and who's really reading it, right?
Well, I
Right.
think also it,
My husband's that person.
yeah, and I think some of the
People who
manuals
read
are
them.
confusing too.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with all the parts, you're like, I don't know what that means.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to learn, right? Some people read, some people, they do better with watching videos. So thankfully for YouTube University, right? We can learn a lot through YouTube. So 17 projects or 7 projects and 17 units. Is that what it was that you had
Yes,
to do?
7 projects, 17 units. Yeah.
That's a lot. So we have a picture of your stock. We're gonna show it. You were sent this stock and it was all dinged up and you had to fix it. Is that?
Yeah, it was dinged up and they had soaked a protective oil into it. So it was nearly black when I got it. It was just very, very dark with oil. So I had to pull all the oil out, fix the dings and dents, and then refinish it. So I chose kind of a cherry color because I love a reddish colored wood. And then the hardest part was getting that high gloss finish. That was a challenge.
Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. When you got
Thank you.
it, you're like, oh my Lord, what am I gonna do with this?
Actually, no. I was probably more worried about the tool making class. I like woodwork. I like painting. I like staining. And so I was actually excited for the refinishing project.
Do you feel when you're at the range, if someone's shooting and there's some sort of malfunction, that you're more prepared?
Absolutely.
That's great.
We actually, because we take guns apart, put them back together, or replace parts, we take other people's guns out and we test fire them before we ever return them to make sure they're safe and functioning properly. And there are plenty of times they misfire, they jam, they're not doing what they're supposed to. And it is nice to be able to go, oh, I know what to do now.
That's great.
So it must be, have you ever had a time where somebody brought in a firearm that was really special to them, that was very old, and they just wanted to finish it up and then fix it and make it look new again? I'm sure that must be rewarding to be able to pass that firearm back to them in a new condition.
Well, since I just finished my course, I'm not offering refinishing yet. And the thing about old guns is if you refinish them, you kill their value.
Yeah.
So we have had people bring old guns in, they want to spruce it up, and we've explained to them, like, I can do that if you want me to. However, the value of this gun goes way down. Like the dings and the dents in those old World War I, World War II guns, they tell a story. And so kind of just letting people understand that even though they may not look beautiful and brand new, they look how they're supposed to look, and that the value is in those dings and dents.
Right.
So
And I like that. They tell a story that's true. That's
Yeah.
very,
they
very true.
do.
Yeah.
You do.
So I bet there's a lot of your program that is strengthened with safety, right? Safety principles. Do you get into a lot of that in the program?
Yes. That's like the first chapter is all about the rules of gun safety. Plus, my husband and I are pretty big sticklers about it. So it's, I mean, a safe gun is the only way to actually safely use one, right? I mean, you want to be safe. You want to know how your gun works. If there's a safety, how to use it. But then also like where you're pointing it and is it loaded, and to treat it like it's loaded, and don't point it at anything you wouldn't want to shoot.
Right.
You know, just those basic gun rules. But absolutely. My husband's also in gunsmithing school, and his program, they have to do videos and they have to show their workspace and show that there are no bullets, the guns aren't loaded, and kind of go through those gun safety things right there in the video, or they get docked points. So I think a lot of gunsmithing programs really are seated in that gun safety.
Oh, so his program is different than yours.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah. Well, that's kind of fun, right? Because you're ahead of him
Right.
you're at the tail end and he's just starting, is that right?
Right. So mine's a certificate. He will have an associate's in gunsmithing when he's done. He
Oh,
actually was
wow.
awarded a full ride. Yeah, he was
I
awarded a
didn't
full
know.
ride scholarship.
Full ride scholarship. Now, what did he have to do to get that?
So it was for law enforcement officers, and he had to write an essay on why, he should be the one that they picked. So a little bit about his life, and he's kind of done a little everything. He was a paramedic, a firefighter, and now a cop, actually.
Wow.
Sergeant. So
Wow. True hero.
they award one per year, and it's pretty cool.
That's exciting. He's not there, is he? We can't snag him on. Too bad.
No, he was supposed to be, but duty calls. He had an unexpected work meeting pop up. So
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Congratulate him for us. That's great.
I
There
will.
are different levels of gunsmithing, like schooling that you can do, or is
Yeah.
it because he was a cop, he's in that program?
Well, anyone can do that program. Really, it just depends on what level of education you want. Since it's an associate's degree, he'll do a few more business classes, a few more of those general ed classes. Mine was just gunsmithing. There wasn't anything extra. But his has a lot more direction. It's instructor guided. Mine was self-paced and self-guided. So I feel like I could have gotten more out of program more like his. So I think, if you're interested in gunsmithing, really think about what learning style is best for you. And, can you really do self-paced?
Yeah, that's true, because I know being a nurse, you can do a lot of programs online. And for me, I can't do that. I have to be in a class with a teacher, a physical teacher. Plus I can't use computers. Kerrie Ann knows that. So it's tough. It's really tough. So you're right. You just have to look at the program and decide what best fits your needs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So, and the self-paced ones, I mean, it's easy to be like, oh, I'll do that next week. And then, 3 months later, you're like, I should probably get to that.
When you say, oh, I have 2 years, I'm just going to blow it off today. And then today becomes a month later and a month later. Yeah, you have to have a lot of autonomy. It almost says a lot for someone who can make it through that program, because it just means that you have a lot of autonomy and you have good time management. So there's a lot to be said there also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, did we ask what got you into this? Like, what made you become interested in gunsmithing?
So I didn't actually grow up around guns. I had a touch of experience with them in my early 20s, but when I met my husband, actually, he took me out shooting for our first date.
And you said, I'm marrying this man.
Pretty much, yeah. He won me over, no problem. But it was his enthusiasm about guns that made me more interested in them. And his big thing is accuracy. He loves being accurate. He can look at someone's posture and correct them, even in just their grip, in the way they're holding a gun and how it's affecting how they're going downrange with it. And just as we progressed, we decided to get our FFL. And to be a gunsmith, you do have to have your FFL. I don't know if everyone knows that. When we got our FFL, we thought we were going to, do the brick and mortar, open a store, that kind of thing. And the more we got into it, the more we realized there was a big need for people who were knowledgeable enough to actually fix a gun. And so the more he started doing just little projects here and there, the more I was like, I want to learn more. I want to be able to do this too, right? So then I started looking at classes, and it just kind of went from there. I will say that it is rewarding to have that person who's like, hey, I took my gun to this gun store and they didn't know how to fix it, and I got it back in pieces. Can you help me? And it's very rewarding to be able to say, absolutely, I can help you.
Right, because not every FFL is a gunsmith, but every gunsmith is an FFL.
In this state, at least, yes. I think that's nationwide. I don't know for sure, but
I think you're right.
It makes sense because you're transferring firearms. You're taking possession of them. So I feel like you would have to be an FFL to be able to do that legally.
Correct. So we actually had our FFL for 3 years before I started school. We have our SFST, so we also have the ability to have suppressors, automatics, things like that. So we kind of went a step above, but it also includes the manufacturing portion. So like we talked about earlier, we could manufacture our own gun if we wanted to, but that comes with a lot of liability. So I don't know that we'll ever go that route.
Yeah, that's so
Only
fun.
imagine.
So, let's see, I spoke with you last week just to kind of get to know who Sam Wells is a little, and you and your husband are hunters.
We are, yes.
And you just
You
got
got me into that too. I
Yeah.
was not hunting as a child, so.
That's
Oh,
great.
so that's all.
Tell us, I want to hear about that elk hunt. But that's exciting. We're from Massachusetts. We don't have elk here. So when you said you went on a elk hunt in a canyon, I'm like, wow, you know, that's really
Did
cool.
you have to look up what an elk was?
I knew
Some
what an
people
elk was. Well, I lived in Arizona, so what? It's not.
Oh,
too
that's
far
right.
from
I
me.
remember that.
Right,
Right.
right.
Well, like, well, what do you want to know about
So
Did you
it?
get one?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
What do you use
No.
when you hunt elk? For
I have a 30-06. Am I allowed to say the brand?
yeah.
Okay, I have a Tika T3X Hunter. It is the best hunting rifle I've ever had in my life. And it's a 30-06. Elk are very big, if anyone doesn't know, and you need a lot of knockdown power. So
I would
I
imagine.
went with a bigger gun. Yeah.
yeah.
But you know,
Like my deer gun's a 243, but
my our good friend John Green, he hunts, and he says it's not about I don't want to say they call it the harvest. It's not about the harvest. It's about everything else that goes along with it, because you really do get an
absolutely.
opportunity to be out in nature and see nature.
Where the beasts
Experience.
are, yes.
Right. Where the
It's,
beasts are.
it's about the cool, crisp mornings and like freezing your butt off and being able to look through a scope or a binocular set or a spotting scope and be able to see them on the hillside. And we got on day one of my hunt, we got to watch elk all day. And
wow.
I'd never done that before. And you learn so much about them, how they move, when they move, do they bed down all day or do they get up and move around? And then also how big the herd was, if there were bulls and cows or just cows. And this particular group, there were bulls, spikes, which are immature bulls, and cows. And it's kind of unusual to see all of them together. So it was really cool.
So
It was a fun experience.
That's great.
Awesome.
So you were out for like a week? Were you?
Yeah, it's a 5-day hunt.
That's great.
Is it like a facility that you go to? Is it like or is that something you do on your own?
Oh no, you do it on your own. So here in New Mexico, you have what units, and so we have a lottery draw. You put in for what hunts you want. You find out usually in end of April, May, what hunts you've gotten, and then you go to that unit. You maybe do some scouting, try to figure out where they are. You are better off trying to find your resident herds than your migratory herds. So scouting is important, which we probably could have done a lot more.
Is that
And then when
with the resident herds, they're there more frequently? Is that
they're there all the time?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're more apt to get them if they're a resident herd and not just a herd traipsing through.
Right.
Right.
Those are kind of more luck. You come across those by luck.
Okay, so if
The elk hunts are in December for rifle.
Yeah.
And so after, you scouted the area, you go during your week, and then you just try to find the proper species and the proper sex. So I did have a spike bull elk 51 yards from me, but I had a cow tag, so I could only kill a female. And so just being that close, like you can literally smell them.
Wow.
And it was an incredible experience. So even though I didn't get one, I learned so much more about elk than I knew before. And that made it worth it.
Was that your first elk hunt?
Actually, no, it was my fourth.
Yeah.
Wow.
But every time you learn something, right?
Absolutely. After my first elk hunt, I was pretty sure I was done hunting. And then my second and third, I was successful in both of those. And we also do our own butchering. So when you bring an animal home and it goes from being an animal to food on the table, it makes you appreciate that process more. And it makes you understand like these animals are living their best life up until you take them. Whereas, the food you get from the grocery store, maybe not. So,
Yeah.
and now I think the meat from the grocery store tastes funny. Whereas at the beginning, I was like, this tastes a little weird. But once you get used to that fresh meat, it's different.
The stuff in the grocery store does taste funny because there are a lot of additives in it. And I just saw something circulating today that some of the meat has
Hamburgers.
ammonia in it.
Yeah.
And so you think like with the pink slime and in all the stuff that they put in the meat to make it have that color or to
Right.
make it like it's not a hot dog's not supposed to be pink. It's not really pink if
Right.
you really make your own hot dog. And the same with ground beef, as you can attest to, I'm sure, or ground
Yes.
meat, right? So
Yeah, when you see that bright red, vibrant color, that's not real.
right.
No.
Right. So it's
Real red meat is actually very dark.
yeah.
Yep.
Because we've also butchered a cow. So
what do you
it is
do
much better.
when you do get an elk? Because they're huge. How do you get? I'm like, all right, how do you get it back?
So you it depends on how far you're out. So for my first elk hunt, we could drive right up to it. For my second elk hunt, I killed her on the side of a mountain. So we had to pack her out. And so you have to, this might be a little gross. You have to gut it and skin it on the side of the mountain. And then a lot of people will debone it and just take the meat. It's a lot lighter than taking whole quarters. Or you can quarter the animal down. So hind quarters, front quarters. I think their skulls are beautiful. A lot of people don't keep the cow elk skulls. I do. I put them in my garden. I think they're pretty. So it just depends on what you want to do. And then we actually we tan the hides and keep them.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about the hides.
like,
yeah.
So you use all the animal, and I like hearing
As much as we can. And what we leave behind, the wildlife picks apart. So they get the extra meat or the organs that you don't want.
The circle of life.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So going back to the gunsmithing.
Oh, come on. It was so fun talking about hunting.
I could talk about either all day.
I know, right? What would you say to somebody that would be interested in learning more about it or understanding the process, and where would they go to do that?
I would say it depends on what they want to learn. The first thing I think anybody should definitely learn are the rules, how to be safe with your firearm. But if they just want to know about their gun, then I would recommend, they watch videos about how to clean, take their gun apart, when things malfunction, how to fix it. And to that, honestly, we do a lot of YouTube videos. I also have a book that has these exploded diagrams that have every single little piece, what it's called, its part number, what I would need to replace, have that number to replace it. Those ones are kind of hard to read if you're not used to looking at them. But if somebody's interested in gunsmithing, I would say that it would depend on your knowledge base. So I did an advanced gunsmithing course, but it was meant to be for anybody who knows nothing about guns. And I would say I was thankful I did know a lot about guns, because there was a lot that was left to be desired in that program. So it just really depends on how much you know, what you want to know, and what your goals are.
Good information.
Yeah. So here's a question. A lot of people ask us this, how often am I supposed to clean my gun?
Ooh, I love this question.
Oh,
yes.
So
Every
I
time you use it.
Every time. So do you have
Every time.
to field strip it and like really give it a good cleaning if you shoot 20 rounds?
No, not every time. Just a gentle clean if you're not, out there going through several boxes. You're just going to take your cleaning little squares down the barrel. You always want to travel down the barrel the same as the bullet. Make sure you get a good cleaning solvent, and then you're also just going to put a little oil in there, keep the rust away. You want to make sure chamber's clean, barrel's clean. Now, except for 22s, those are dirty. They will get carbon everywhere. So those ones you might want to take down a little more frequently. A regular handgun, we take it all the way down, do the ultrasonic cleaning probably once a quarter, but we go shooting pretty often.
I can't believe we're literally out of time, but
Wow.
thank you. I know it goes by quick because we're just having a conversation, but we'll have to have you on again and talk about more fun stuff as you go with your go through your journey and you get different stories and stuff. Text us when you do, and we'll have you on and we'll
Hey,
talk about it.
how about when your husband graduates, we can have the both of you.
I like that idea.
I love
That
that.
would be a lot of fun.
And
Yeah,
then
he
you
would
can-
love that too.
And we can have pictures of your elk because you'll have another by then, right?
I sure hope so.
Well, thank you, Sam. You're an absolute pleasure. Thank you for doing all that you do.
We
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you
it.
guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Me too.
I can't believe that went by so quickly.
I know, it really did. She's a sweetheart.
She is, and she had a lot of great information to provide to us regarding gunsmithing and, of course, the hunting story. I don't know. One day I'll get there. I haven't hunted yet, but maybe you'll bring me.
It's something great
right?
to put on your calendar for
An
next
experience.
year.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, sistersinarms2022@gmail.com. Stay safe.
Stay vigilant.
Until next time.